When the president does it, that means it's not illegal. A famous quote by Richard Nixon. I sympathize with this position so much. I agree with you. I was a freshman in college when the Monica Lewinsky scandal broke. I remember articulating in a class discussion that I thought if it was proven that Bill Clinton was lying about his relationship with Lewinsky, he should resign from office for lying about a sexual liaison. I think the Lewinsky scandal was disillusioning for many self-identified Democrats. I think it probably helped some people understand a little bit about the reality versus the storyline we get about our elected officials. The propaganda message we get from a very young age about our system, and this goes back to the founders, is that we are meant to be led by men of principle and integrity. We have this notion because the people who established this country had some very noble ideas. Those ideas are still noble. It's what you might like to think of more as an ideal, an aspiration, something you hope for but don't necessarily expect. I think the real psychological break where this ideal about being led by men of principle began to collapse was Watergate. President Nixon gets caught breaking a bunch of laws. One of his most famous quotes is, "I am not a crook." Sounds exactly like something a crook would say. Nixon resigns because members of his own party, the GOP, tell him they're not going to back him up. They say, "You've gone too far." They seem like they were men of principle, and I respect that. Those days are gone. The breaking point happens immediately after Nixon flees the White House in disgrace. Retribution is coming down the pike. Stars and stripes forever? No, just prison stripes for Nixon, possibly forever. So what do our men of principle do? Gerald Ford pardons him, lets him off, says he was doing it to protect the nation. Instead, he broke it. Gerald Ford broke our nation by pardoning Nixon. He helped spawn a growing class of people in this country who are immune from punishment. People who are above the law, who cannot be touched. Donald Trump, January 24th, 2016, said, "I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose voters." Ask yourself, would he even face justice? I think many Americans were disillusioned by the pardoning of Richard Nixon. Coming just a few years later, Ronald Reagan was embroiled in the Iran-Contra scandal. Reagan testified that he never knew anything about it. He was an old man, probably had dementia. The men of principle who ran our country back then let him go. No justice. No retribution. Reagan was involved in illegal activities. Even Oliver North got off with a slap on the wrist. So here we come back to Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton. Even after Nixon's pardon and Reagan getting off scot-free, some people, including me, still harbored noble ideas about the president. Some of us thought that the president was a man of principle. How could he be anything but? And of course, Clinton lied and broke the law, and he got off without any punishment either. And after you become disillusioned, you start learning about the world. And you learn that every president breaks the law. Every president lies. Every president gets away with it. Up to and including acts of treason? I guess we'll soon find out. But look back over every president, and you can start finding things. It's like Noam Chomsky said, if the Nuremberg laws were applied, then every post-war American president would have been hanged. You can get a link to Chomsky's entire essay in my Substack post. Our leaders are not angels, but that does not mean that we must accept this. It's possible to hold people, even powerful people, accountable for their crimes. But we must demand it, because if we leave it up to our political class, they will always protect one another. Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter. They're all in on it. There is no incentive for them to care about justice. Aside from doing it for political advantage, there's no upside for our leaders to hold themselves accountable. Please give a like, follow, favorite, subscribe, and sign up for my free Substack where you can get a more detailed version of this post. Let's make them pay.